Okay, so just a couple quick examples. I know on the review video numbers 10, 13, and 14, the method that we used to solve those last year was a little bit different than this year. So here's kind of those three problems for you. Number 10, it wants you to factor this expression. So we're going to do the X factor method, but this one has a 2 in front of the X squared. So don't forget that you have to times that by the -3 to get -6 up on top. And then the bottom is still the +5. So I know I've got a positive and a negative because they multiply to be a negative. But I also know that they add up to a positive. So my big one's going to be the positive. What multiplies to be 6? I really like this question because there's actually two options, 2 and 3, and also 6 and 1. So you've got to be really careful. To get to 5, I would need a +2 and a +3, but one of them has to be negative. So I'm not going to use 2 and 3. I'm going to use the 6 and the 1. And the 6 is the positive, the 1 is the negative. So before I plug these into my parentheses, I've got to remember that I times by 2. So now I have to divide both sides by 2. And this one becomes a +3. So I'm going to get x plus 3. This one becomes a -1/2. That doesn't simplify. So remember, when I put this in my parenthesis, I've got to take that 2, and it goes in front of the x. And then I have the -1 that comes after the x. And because all I'm doing is factoring, that's it right there. I'm done with number 10. Okay, number 13 is a little bit different as well. This one we are solving by factoring. So the first thing I need to do is get 16 over on the left-hand side. So I end up with 5c squared minus 16c minus 16 equals 0. Again, I'm going to do the X factor method, but I've got to take this 5 and times it by -16, which gives me -80 on top because it's in front of my c squared. And then on the bottom, I'm going to get -16. So I'm looking for two things that multiply to be 80 and add up to be -16. I know one's positive, one's negative. The big one's going to be the negative because it's what's left over. So 80 is 10 and 8. That's not going to work. 20 and 4. That's probably what I'm looking for, because if I do -20 and a +4, that multiplies to -80 and adds up to -16. Now, before I put this in my parentheses, just like the last one, because I multiplied by 5, I got to divide both sides by 5. So this one becomes -4. So I'm going to put c minus 4 over here. And this one, I've got to take the 5 and move it in front of the c. So it becomes 5c plus 4. But I'm not done. I've got to solve this one, not just factor. So it equals 0, which means I've got to set both of these equal to 0. So c minus 4 has to equal 0, and 5c plus 4 could be my 0. So when I add 4 to both sides, c is equal to 4. That's one option. And over here, when I minus 4, I get 5c equals -4, and I divide by 5, c equals -4/5. So those would be my solutions. +4, comma, -4/5 would be my solution set. So be careful that you go, if it wants you to solve, we need to get all the way to the actual answer, not just the factor. And some of you have noticed this shortcut right here, that when you get to this point, all you have to do to get the solutions is switch that to a positive and that to a negative. We don't usually talk about that a lot, because what's going to happen is when you factor, if you switch the signs, your factors are going to be wrong, but your solutions will be correct. So if you use that shortcut, just be careful that when you switch these signs, that gives you the solutions. It doesn't give you the numbers to put in your factors. It gives you the solutions, okay? And number 14. You know what? I think this is one that you should figure out on your own for the test. I think it's one of those problems that it's a little bit more complicated. With time at home, you can work your way through a solution. Just if you get to the point where you have to factor, you're going to end up doing the X factor method. And I don't know what the numbers are going to be. It's going to be something crazy. Well, maybe not too bad. You'll end up with something like x squared minus 18, actually probably a plus, minus 700. Nope, that'll be too big. It'll probably be more like 200. So you'd put your negative 200 on top and your 18 on bottom, and you would factor like you normally